Welcome back to another KLIM product walkthrough. I'm Lucas, and today we're looking at something very new and exciting. This is the all-new, ground-up developed, never seen before X1 Alpha helmet. For the rest of the video, I'll call it the X1, but the full name of this product is the X1 Alpha helmet. Brand new adventure helmet that we've developed over the course of more than 5 years. We've got a wind tunnel we built here within a tremendous amount of testing and reiterations and refining and testing and making sure everything is as dialed as we can possibly make it before we bring it to the market. We got a ton of other videos you can watch that kind of go into more of a deep dive on the backstory behind this helmet and kind of what went into making this happen. And just for the sake of this video, there's a lot of stuff to go over, so we're going to try to keep it as quick as possible. First things first, carbon fiber shell. This is a hand-laid carbon fiber shell. What that means, and it's also made with pre-impregnated carbon fibers. So what that means is we get the most uniform shell consistency of resin distribution, no bubbles, no imperfections, no excess resin for extra weight. So the shell is pretty much as well made as you can make a helmet shell, a carbon fiber shell. We're very happy with that. We do that with other helmets as well, like the F5 and the F3 Carbon, the Cryos and the Cryos Pro. And we, of course, do the same thing on this helmet, on the X1. First things first, right off the bat, something we're super stoked on is the peak visor, actually. Not only is it aerodynamically optimized, you can kind of see all these little cuts and chamfers and air inlets that we've made throughout it to reduce that drag, because we all know that peak visors create drag and buffeting, especially in a crosswind. So we're trying to optimize that while still having a peak visor and not getting rid of it entirely. But if you want to get rid of it, it's super easy. And also if you want to adjust it, it's super easy. So we'll check that out. We're super stoked on this. This is a tool-free adjustment on the peak visor. There's a button here at the top. You push in, it's spring-loaded, and it's going to move along a track. And it has 3 preset positions. You got full height, you have the next one down, and then you can remove it fully. You push that button again, and it's going to slide into a bigger hole that's going to let this whole system pop out. So now it pops out of the top, and then you rotate it down, okay, and now that's going to release it from the side. Now you can take off your peak visor without removing the face shield. The face shield is still locked in, still fully usable. So let's say you're in gnarly crosswinds, you're going across the desert, you're like, man, this peak visor is just ripping way too much. You literally pull this off in seconds. If you're really good, you can try to do it while you're riding, but we don't recommend that. So we're super pumped on how that comes off, and you don't have to do anything. With the Cryos Pro and the Cryos, no tools, it's super easy. Relatively speaking, this takes peak visor removal to the next level. Put this back in, you just line up those posts. It might be hard to see, but you have kind of like a notched little post here on both sides. So you're going to line up those gaps on the post onto where they go on either side of the helmet and literally turn them in just like that. Now it's locked in on the side. It's very easy. It's like a quarter turn almost. And then in the top of the helmet, there's your first little insert hole right there. You drop in the adjuster post that is spring-loaded, move it back, and now you're locked in. Very easy to do. You can do this with gloves on. So very easy, user-friendly peak visor adjustment there. Now, same thing with the face shield. Same removal process. We'll get to that in a second when we talk about face shields. Let's keep going over the rest of the helmet on the outside here first. Now, also speaking about user comfort, a big thing we did with this helmet is work on heat management and comfort. So there's a couple things going on the inside of the helmet, actually more than a couple, but there's a bunch of stuff going on the inside of the helmet. We'll get to that in a second, but a big thing here is the vents. So I'm going to take this peak visor back off. Again, show you how easy that is. Now we got adjustable vents here on the upper forehead. They're multi-position, so they close fully, like that. And then you can pop them back a half position or all the way open. You're probably just going to run them full open or full close, let's be honest. But they're very easy to use. They've got a little notch right here on the side. You can push with your gloves. Quite easy to use. And they're going to work in conjunction with that peak visor to get air into the top of the helmet and flowing through. Now, same thing at the bottom. Chin vents, there's 2 of them. They each do separate things. The first one on the bottom pulls air into the whole helmet. It's going to run straight into the helmet. We have a chin skirt down here. We'll get to all that stuff as well, but we're trying to keep this kind of cockpit experience fairly sealed off when you want it to be sealed off, and then open and full of good airflow when we want that. So the bottom vent, it's very easy to use. It's got a detent on the bottom where you push it so you can feel it with gloves on. That's going to run air into the helmet. The other one, the upper one, is actually running straight to a diffuser. Now if you can see that in there, we have kind of a diffuser going on, and that's actually this top vent goes straight up into this through this diffuser that acts literally like a defogger, and it pushes air straight onto the face shield. So there's a lot of stuff we're doing about reducing fogging, but if you're really in heavy fog, you can have this open, or you're in a heavy fogging situation, you can have this top vent open. It's going to push air directly onto that face shield and keep it clear from fogging. We'll get to the pin lock and everything else in just a second. We have more vents on the back, and you can actually probably see a little bit of that KOROYD shape, those KOROYD structures that we use in the F5 KOROYD and the F3 Carbon Pro and in the Kraus Pro. We got two exhaust vents here, and then across the back we have additional exhaust vents. So the air is going to move through the helmet, take your hot air away from your head and push it out. So there's a lot of fatigue that can happen to your brain and to your body when you're excessively hot and you can't sweat enough, you can't get rid of that heat, the heat's building up, and that's a big part of the safety here with gear and with helmets. If we can keep you from crashing in the first place, keep you focused, keep you from getting too fatigued and distracted and making mistakes, if we can stop problems from happening in the first place, we love to do that as well as keep you safe in the event of a crash. So we're kind of got this two-pronged safety approach here to keep you more comfortable and safer before you even crash in the first place, because we don't want you to crash at all. Now, let's jump through the face shield here and vision and optics. So you saw how easy it was for that peak visor to come off. It's the same story with the face shield. You open it up all the way, and now there's little kind of thumb tabs here on both sides for your thumb. And what you'll see as I push this forward, you'll see it's on a spring-loaded keeper that keeps the face shield back and in the locked position, or in the locked in position, so it can rotate on that spring-loaded keeper. Now what you do, you have it fully open and you push it forward. I have to use both hands for this. So you push it forward and that's going to make it pop out of its track. So very, very, very easy. So let's say you're in an off-road situation and you're like, oh, it's getting dusty, I don't want to have too much dust in my eyes. I want to take my face shield off and put my goggles on. You can do this in literally seconds. Visor comes off, face shield comes off, visor goes back on, goggles go on, you're ready to rip. So we'll throw this back in and go over some of the features of the face shield. Very easy, you just literally push it in, now you're ready to go. It could not be easier, completely tool-free. And it's also self-adjusting because of that. So it's not gonna have to be like adjusted in its position of where it needs to be in the helmet to keep a good seal, to keep the detents working. It's just always gonna be in the right spot. So when we talk about vision, we talk about clarity and being able to see through one or multiple panes of something. Like if you're looking through a car, you're looking through sunglasses, I'm sure you guys have seen where there's like weird distortions or weird things happen to colors with polarization. We're really mitigating all of those potential issues with this face shield. It's almost completely optically correct, and it's also structured in a way where it has what we call HD technology. So basically, if you can imagine, without getting too sciencey here about this, when light comes through a surface like the face shield, light comes through, a small amount of it's going to get distorted and refracted and pushed in different ways. So it's not going to go straight into your eye as if you were looking through nothing. So this particular face shield, the technology we're working with here, it's as close to nothing as possible. So very few of those light photons get distracted and moved around, and they kind of move straight through to your eye. So we're trying to keep everything as clear as possible. The cool thing is we maintain that when we put in the pin lock. So you're adding two different layers here with the pin lock and the face shield, and we maintain that optical class 1 clarity. Really good for fatigue. It's going to be easier to look through and see things off in the distance and ride safer. The other thing with the pin lock is, as you can see, it's huge. The pin lock covers almost the complete dimensions of this face shield, and it's very, very, very effective at reducing fogging. If you haven't used a pin lock before, it's a game changer for reducing fogging. So we've got pin lock for fogging, we've got this diffuser for fogging, and then the one complaint that we often get about the Kraus Pro, not that it's a bad helmet, but it didn't have this little detent here where you can see there's a little gap left. So you got that last position right before it closes. That's the one thing we were missing on that helmet. So now we have that on this X1, and you can very easily push it open and closed if you're fogging like crazy, like you're in city traffic, in the rain, in the heat, or in the cold, probably most likely in the cold. So lots of anti-fogging technology here. Lots of vision technology here to keep you seeing very clearly. And I should mention the photochromic lens also has that HD and optical clarity technology. Now I've saved the best for last when we talk about the technology that's in this face shield. You know, we were talking about heat control and mitigating heat and all that and staying comfortable. These face shields have infrared shielding in them. So if you've ever had like ceramic tint in the car and that sun heat doesn't really come through, it's that same kind of idea here. You're sitting in the sun's coming in through your face shield, it's baking your face and it's getting hot. This greatly, greatly reduces that heat coming through. If you have a heat lamp or something, you can try it out and test it out between a regular face shield and these X1 face shields. These do a tremendous job of reducing that heat from the sun, from that sunlight coming through the helmet. So there's a lot of black in here, a lot of gray and all that. You don't want that heat coming through. This is a huge, huge comfort play to keep your face and your whole body and your brain and your head and everything much more comfortable. And then one last thing on the face shield, as you saw me push down like this, and it's very easy to push down on either side. It's ambidextrous to push this face shield down. If you look closely, you'll see we've got this gasket around the whole thing, right, to keep water and wind and keep the noise down and keep everything comfortable. But then right here where the pressure points are for these tabs, it's actually not the gasket. It's a slicker material. It's a smooth material. So that means that you can easily push down and keep it closed or while you're riding. You don't have to use both hands. You just push down like that. And it's very easy. So there's a lot of little touches like that that just make this helmet much easier to live with than other traditional helmets in the past. Okay, now that we're done with the outside of the helmet, let's dive to the inside and see what's going on here. There's a lot of interesting stuff. Some things I can't really show you because it's literally inside the EPS and the KOROYD, but I'll try to describe it. First things first, very comfortable suede and fabric materials here throughout the neck roll and the chin skirt and the inside of the liner here. One thing that we do for comfort to make this helmet easier to put on and to seal up better is there's an elastic gasket in the chin skirt. So we have this chin skirt that seals up quite well, keeps the wind out of your face and keeps your eyes from getting dry and keeps the dust down and all that. But then we need to be able to put it on our heads very easily and get it over our noses, so we built in this elastic structure right here. So little features like that, like I keep saying, there's all these little things that make this helmet kind of a cut above the rest. Okay, so now that I pulled that crown liner back a little bit, you can see the channeled EPS. So it's actually an EPS and KOROYD sandwich. It's EPS right here that's channeled. That's going to let air flow through and it matches up perfectly with the crown liner. Then you have KOROYD, which is those green straw-like structures that are really good at absorbing high impact energy. They distribute it very well. They absorb it like a cushion without having a rebound. So it's very, very, very effective for absorbing impact energy. And then you have another layer of EPS up against the shell, because what happens is the shell gets hot in the sun and you want to insulate that hot shell from the air that's going onto the rest of your body, onto your head. So you have your outside shell, EPS, KOROYD, more EPS that's channeled. So you have all this airflow moving through, pulling that heat away from the shell, away from the inside of the shell, and away from your head. So we did a tremendous amount of work there to get this to be comfortable and to flow air, and of course to pass all those impact safety requirements. There's something very important to talk about with sizing. We have 3 different shell sizes, but most of the people who ride motorcycles are wearing a size medium or a large or an XL. Most of those people are probably wearing a size large. So for that reason, we actually built the size large X1 helmet with its own shell size. So what that means is you get the perfectly optimized EPS KOROYD shell size dimensions, so you don't have an extra large helmet sitting on your head. We don't want it to be any bigger than it has to be. So for most riders who do wear motorcycle helmets, the peak of that bell curve is in a size large. So then underneath that, the medium to the smallest sizes is a smaller size shell, the extra large and up is another size shell. So if you're wearing a size large, you're lucky because you're getting a perfectly optimized shell and EPS and everything structure size for your head shape. Now, even though I talked about these helmet shell sizes being optimized, particularly for the large throughout the rest of the helmets, the other key thing is that the cheek pads and the crown liner are actually interchangeable between sizes. So if you're a medium, you want to adjust it a little bit, you can get different size thicknesses, crown liner and cheek pads to throw in there and optimize that fit for you. Same thing with the other sizes, of course. The other thing, while we're talking about cheek pads and crown liners, those have a burr cooling material in them. So it's going to wick that sweat and stay a little bit cooler than just a regular synthetic liner material would. So as you can probably tell, there's a tremendous amount of stuff we're putting in this helmet for safety technology, but also for comfort, for noise, for buffeting, for wind, noise reduction, like I said, aerodynamics, and also user friendliness with that face shield and the peak visor, and a big one is for heat comfort. So we are very excited about the new X1 Alpha helmet. If you guys have any questions about this, hit us up in the comments. We'll be happy to answer all of them. Find us on all the social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, anywhere there's social media, we're pretty much on there. So go find us there. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.